But the question is, who's going to make the better start in the big game at Anfield tomorrow, the second part of Super Sunday? It's a resumption of a famous rivalry as Liverpool take on Manchester United. We've just heard from Arne Slot and Virgil van Dijk. And so it's going to be fascinating tomorrow, but on a broader question, that transition from Klopp to Slot last season was absolutely seamless. It almost went beyond anything that anyone could quite believe. But this is the first significant bump in the road. Refuse to call it a crisis, but it is 3 straight defeats heading into tomorrow. So how much more are we going to learn about Arne Slot over the course of the next month or so?
I think we will. I suppose you look at all 3 of those games and small margins in them. Liverpool was still in the game, could have gone differently. But then you look at the games before that, again, it was small margins in those games. We probably haven't seen the very best of Liverpool consistently over 90 minutes, and it was always going to be expected. I think when you bring in so many quality players like they did do, I think with that sort of price tag, with that big price tag comes expectation and pressure. And then I think the fact that they've lost some key players as well, it was always going to take time. It's like you're watching Liverpool and you see in sort of, say, 20, 30 minutes, brilliant. And you think that's exactly what we're going to see of Liverpool as time progresses and as those players gel. And it's just not been there consistently. And I think he knows that, and I think he's working with that, and he's trying to find what his best side is. But I think when you're changing your back line, that you ideally, when Liverpool are at the very best, they have a consistent back 4 goalkeeper. So same with the midfield area. So I think it's just players adapting to playing for Liverpool, adapting to the Premier League, and losing those players and those key creative players like Trent Alexander.
But in some ways, I mean, they open the season, you look at it on paper and it looks really strong. 5 Premier League wins in a row to begin the defence of the title, but all of them featured late winners from Liverpool. So in some ways, were the cracks that have now been exposed being papered over in those games?
I think that was the thing. I think even in those games, you were sort of going, yeah, they've got those late winners, but they're not at the very best. And I think they said that. I think Slot was very honest throughout the games. He was saying, yes, we're winning games, but we're not at our very best yet. And like I said, I just think that was always to be expected when you are bringing in new players. Other players have gone out, and like I say, when you're watching the games, you're seeing like patterns of play that they've clearly been working on in training, but it's maybe just not as slick as what they want it to be. That will come with time. So I've got absolutely no worry about Liverpool and those players that maybe we've highlighted coming good.
And there's lots of issues to look at, Tim. I mean, you can look at the full-back issue at the moment. There's something that's been highlighted a lot in recent weeks, the form of Mo Salah as well, which is well below what we've seen from him, particularly last season. And, of course, fitting in these new talented players as well. In terms of where his biggest problem is right now, where would you see it?
I think he's got to get back to basics in the midfield area and start dominating that way he did last year. I think Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch, brilliant last season. They had real control of the football. When you've got control, he allows you fullbacks to then push forward, occupy the opposition's fullbacks, and releases the wide players like Wirtz on the left-hand side, possibly. And obviously Mo Salah, who's been very quiet. The absence of Trent Alexander-Arnold is a huge blow for him. I mean, when Trent was at Liverpool, we were obsessed with trying to find a thing what he couldn't do. And I think he got unfair criticism. He can't do this, he can't do that. Well, what he can do, he's one of the best passers
64 Premier League assists is what they're now missing.
Amazing.
And what Salah's now missing.
So he's turned the tap off behind Salah. Because when he got the ball and he had it in the deep area, Salah just took off. And not only that, when he burst forward, he occupied defenders, so Mo Salah could roam a little bit freer. He is a huge miss. I'm really surprised that Kirkers hasn't fitted in a little bit better, because he's played for Bournemouth. He knows the Premier League inside out. I thought it'd be an easier transition. But like Sue said, playing for Liverpool or playing for Bournemouth, 2 kettlefish.
But I just wonder, Merce, talking about Kirkers, because you look at those 2, Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson, 120 Premier League assists between them. Now, when Robertson arrives at Liverpool, Klopp introduced him gradually, didn't get a start for his first 4 months. Did he put Kirkers in from the start? Was that the wrong timing? Should he have done a Robertson with him and introduced him gradually, given that Robertson could still definitely add something to this side?
It was a hard one. It was a hard one because he'd done so well at Bournemouth. You're thinking, well, he could just come in and...
But this is different. This is Liverpool. This is the champions he now plays.
Yeah, 100%. But he'd done so well. It would have been hard to think, right, I've chased after you, I'm going to pay this money and not play him. And last season, I think Robinson would be the first one to say that he didn't have the greatest season. I always felt he was the one coming off. Sometimes he wasn't even playing. You don't forget, he fell asleep at Chelsea 2 weeks ago at the far post, Robinson. So, you know, I don't think he's got that much of a case to say he should be playing in the game. But it just shows you I talked about shelves earlier.
Yeah.
Shelves. You're playing at Bournemouth. You know, if Bournemouth get beat by Palace this weekend, there'll be nothing said. If Liverpool get beat this weekend, it's headline news.
Yeah.
And that's the pressure you're playing under week in, week out. But my problem with Slot and the team, I agree with Tim with that free midfield. I don't know when he's going to know his best team. You know, we're already in the middle of October and he doesn't know his best team.
Yeah.
That's a worry. That is a worry for me, to knowing his best team, because, you know, you've got a big football match tomorrow where they could be 4 points behind Arsenal. He's paid over £1 million for 2 players. Surely they've got to play. This is the big football match. This is a must-win football match, in my opinion, if Arsenal go and win this evening. You're paying over £100 million for players and they're not playing in these big games. You do start thinking, wait a minute, you paid this money, you chased these players. We're playing big games here and I'm not playing them. I don't think he'll want to be shown that he's been wrong in signing these players at the moment.
Too many options, Spurs?
Too many.
It sounds stupid.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. That's why I don't think he'll ever know what his best team is. But as you said, them 3 were the 3 that won them the league last year, in my opinion. If you don't dominate the midfield, you're not going to win football matches. And that 3 were as good as anybody last season in the country, and they steamrolled every team. Now they're letting in goals left, right, and centre. You know, teams are running at them. I mean, Palace could have been 3, 4, 5 up the other week. You know, it's not. This is no disrespect to Crystal Palace, but it's not PSG. It's not PSG going through them like a knife through butter. This is Crystal Palace. So there's a lot to be done. They look at the positive. They're 1 point behind Arsenal. Yeah. The other way is, though, Arsenal have had an unbelievable start to the season. Hard start. They got some winnable games coming up.
And despite his questionable form at the moment, one thing we can say is Mo Salah has an unbelievable record when it comes to playing against Manchester United. In terms of how they tap into the Salah we've seen in these clashes, the Salah we saw last season, what does Slot do now?
I think, you know, you look at what Mo Salah's done this season. I think he got sort of 3 goals, 3 assists. So actually, when you look at the numbers, you go, well, it's not actually that bad. But when you watch him, he isn't at his
not scored in open play since the opening day of the season.
No, he's not at his absolute best. But I think we all know that Mo Salah can produce those real moments, and we've seen glimpses of it. We've just not seen it again consistently. But that is down to not having Trent Alexander-Arnold, so he's not having that service, that supply line. Obviously, the centre forward next to him is different, so he's adapting to that. So Liverpool aren't as fluid as what they want to be. So as soon as they become fluid, as Slot wants them to be, of course, we're going to see Mo Salah back to his very best. But he'll know the unbelievable record he's got against Manchester United. And when there's a big game, we always know that the big players like Mo Salah will step up.
And he's 33 years of age now, Tim. He got that new contract eventually last season. Are you confident he'll get back to his best? Maybe not his very, very best, but his best.
100%. 100%.
You have no doubt at all.
We're talking about a consistent performer who's always churned out the numbers, whether it's assists or goals, and always stands up when he's needed to. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets a hat-trick tomorrow. It really wouldn't. I mean, you can't write this guy off. He's an amazing footballer. He's a little genius, you know. And I think that if I'm Klopp, Slot, for instance, I'm thinking, do I go back to my try? Like you said, so the midfield won him the Premier League. Maybe the rest of them go back to as similar as it is for now. I know it's very difficult, like you say, to leave out players who you played hundreds of millions for. Isak, for instance. Ekitike's done very well since he's come in. But maybe Gakpo on the left as well. He's a goal threat. You know, Mo Salah on the right-hand side.
So tomorrow, given their run of form and given the nature of this fixture, pick the team that gets the job done.
Go back to basics. You know, and I know you haven't got the Trent anymore, but so you're going to have to find a solution in that position. He's not sure about Frimpong, is he? I mean, Frimpong is absolutely stinking the place out at the moment. He's got an apt name. I mean, it is Pongy, but at the moment, I think he needs to find a solution there, and I don't think Slobberslai is the solution. I think he will come good, but he wants to. Is he a winger? Is he a fullback? I'm not sure what the kid is at the moment, but he's going to have to settle playing for one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League.
Before, Merce, we look at United in more detail, even with the problems that United have, given their recent run of form, is there greater pressure on Liverpool tomorrow?
I never played for Man United before, so I can imagine there's a lot of pressure on Man United in this football match. They're playing Liverpool. This is their biggest game of the season. they'll have to go up and turn up. I think, you know, the fans, this is their game. This is their game. So I can imagine the pressures on both teams. All depends how Arsenal get on today.